beautiful forests in the country. And then finally, promoting blue carbon in coastal habitats. The marshes next to the rivers, for example, those marshes, as many of you probably know better than I ever will, eat up bad carbons, and they're actually incredibly important for the planet. So those 4 initiatives, $372 million. But how do you bring that home locally? Well, I'll give you an example. When I mentioned clean transportation, the city of Elizabeth, it's about a half a block from us, right down the road. Just to put it in perspective, received 2 electric buses, two electric delivery trucks. Some of the businesses in Elizabeth, cargo trucks, utility trucks. This university that we are on right here, Kean University, and thank you, whether you've come back from a degree, whether you've come back from teaching, we are so excited that you've come and seen a campus in very much a positive transition. So Kean University received 7 electric shuttle buses. Around here, it's a very familiar sight to see buses in operation transporting students. There's not that any of you would notice it, but there's a beer delivery service right down the road, and those folks received electric delivery trucks as well. The intention being, obviously, is a less carbon footprint in our transportation sector. And New Jersey is also promoting offshore wind significantly. If you live in this state, you're probably familiar with the fact that there is a wind development off Atlantic City, South Jersey, Cape May area. That's huge. Absolutely huge in its proposal. The idea is to generate 11 gigawatts of electricity from offshore wind. Many of you may be familiar with it. There's a lot of controversy, not only about whether or not some loss of animal life, whale life, dolphin life is reflective of that, or just as much about the cost of it, where the state of New Jersey, for example, has invested $1 billion in tax credits. So all I think most folks would say, wonderful goals and important to define. But why did I mention to you first that we're in the 20th district? Because this district in the city of Elizabeth, which has some of the best sustainable goals of any, and goals and actually implementation of any city in the country, also has one of the largest seaports in North America, if not the world. The seaport of the city of Elizabeth in Newark is the largest seaport in North America. 2/3 of Newark Airport is in the city of Elizabeth. So why do I tell you that? Because those folks are primarily generated today off of fossil fuels. Our asthma rates among our children, to bring this home to its particular value, which was the point of it, our asthma rates in Newark and Elizabeth are among the highest in the country among our youth. We know how important it is to move to clean energy, to climate change that allows a more sustainable opportunity for clean breathing air. We've seen money come in from the feds to do that, but we know on a very real case what that means for folks right here. Yet we are challenged. There are tens of thousands of jobs. If you took the turnpike to get here, you saw the oil tanks coming up. Those oil tanks represent tens and tens of thousands of jobs in this state and in this country. The challenge of keeping that economy moving while transitioning over is an important part for policymakers. So, and by the way, one other piece, they're now talking about electric airplanes. And around here, that's a very big deal. So those challenges are very real: economic, sustainable, climate, very real, whether you're a Board of Education member who deals with the challenges of children health each and every day, or simply a parent who knows better. We try to deal with those in a policy that allows us all to move forward on this most important UN day, that we achieve our goal of sustainable energy, climate change positivity for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. From a view from inside of the policy and decision-making arena, it is so hopeful to hear about New Jersey's climate change combating on those 4 areas. I especially appreciate the emphasis on the nature of both your gorgeous forests and marshes, as this is something that in the past we may have taken for granted and depleted, but hearing from the state of New Jersey is prioritizing protecting these areas is amazing. And thank you personally, Senator, for taking the time to come here and for all your important hard work, which contributes to the success of Elizabeth. I'm sure all your constituents look forward to seeing what you do for them in the future. So thank you once again. We will now move on to Dr. Rio Santos, who is joining us from Zoom. Keep your fingers crossed. Okay, never mind. So now we will move on to Miss Sophia Sabaret. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Ms. Murphy, for the invitation. It's an honor. So my research, to give you some background, I'm a human rights lawyer and I'm currently doing my PhD in environmental justice at NYU. And I'm studying the intersections of climate change and poverty in the context of food systems. And this is very aligned with what Commissioner Jane said about human rights and food systems and food security, because it's very interesting to see how food justice and food systems or food insecurity isn't about food anymore. It's about labor, it's about migration policies, it's about transportation, it's about it's an entire ecosystem around around different aspects that come together and intersect in climate change and in what we see as food systems or food insecurities or food injustice. In my research, I look specifically at labor migration between Mexico and the United States, and I study their living conditions and the cycle of institutionalized poverty and the influence of migration policies and how these farm workers, or who is the people who is behind the food we eat, and how are we connected with this food system. And as we know, the pattern of cheap labor carried out by migrant farm workers happens across the globe. We see farm workers migrating from Eastern Europe to Western Europe, or from South and Central America to North America, or from Central China to coastline China. It's a pattern of developing countries migrating to more affluent countries to work in agriculture. And as we know, migration happens, or specifically farm workers migrate in search of economic development. And unfortunately, on that search, they end up enduring very inhumane working and living conditions, such as extreme poverty, heat strokes, miscarriages, infertility, all these that are consequences of climate change and the climate environment that they work on. Like they work many hours under the sun in very extreme conditions, and every time someone eats anything, in a way we are participating with a system that is causing that extreme poverty, those miscarriages, those heat strokes. And kind of my work is to illustrate those conditions, because climate change and food system, it's a concern, it's a problem that concerns everybody. And we need to, and one of the questions that I guided my research with was, what is the context, what does the right to development means in the context of food production and agricultural policies? And one of the problematics that I saw is that a lot of times we don't have a clear understanding of what is the right to development and how to align development into domestic policies, so we don't fail in leaving people behind. One of the policy proposals, or like the that I studied when I saw like migration and like all the threats that come together when we study food systems in the US, I saw that it has to do with migration, with labor standards, with labor conditions, and with human rights. And I was wondering if we could use human rights as to measure development. And if we are measuring development by taking into consideration these human rights and understanding all the tracks, all the labor that comes behind the food system and the migration policies that are involved in that process, then we could have a better understanding of development policies, climate change, poverty alleviation, and development.
Thank you.
Thank you for your nuanced views about how the food system is now stretched beyond food, especially how it interconnects with migration, which are obviously both such important issues today. I think we can all say that we have experienced the effects of food security, especially from inflation. So I think it's fascinating in hearing about this topic, which affects each individual around the world, and how this relates to broader institutions such as the right to development, and from Kean's rights perspective as well. Thank you so much for your valuable research. Okay, now introducing Rio Santos from Zoom.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just a bit.
I think it's your sound system.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity for me to join you in this special forum. I am actually here in Micronesia, and I apologize if there will be some difficulty in terms of the internet connectivity. But I'm happy to focus my presentation and my talk in 3 points. No? I know that you are all very. I'm given 3 minutes to 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes to emphasize my point. But basically, when we talk about sustainable development goals and how it is actually reflected into actual planning, it is very important that we emphasize on the importance of planning and policy development. Unfortunately, in our experience in government and in our experience in actual implementation, there was actually always a disconnect between national planning and local planning. And whatever is decided at the national level doesn't necessarily reflect on what is needed to be done at the local level. And at the same time, what local policy makers are implementing doesn't necessarily reflect what the national goals are. And if we have the challenge and we have that disconnect, the international commitments, together with all other international commitments that the states entered into, are sometimes not reflected in the local planning. This is very true as well in the United Nations, where in fact most of the connections and partnerships that is being done by the United Nations are directly connected with the state or the national government. We normally don't deal with local governments. But in realization, we realize that as we work with the national government, we realize that the one who are actually doing actual work and the one who is actually providing real solutions are located at the ground. And this is very important for us to connect it. And what Sustainable Development Goals is trying to emphasize is the creation of an interconnected and integrated approach in development, which in reality and what is happening for now is that we plan in silos and we implement solutions that are actually not well connected and standalone, sometimes standalone and doesn't really connect to the bigger picture. But we still have the chance to correct it. And that's why we emphasize that the need for us to have a common and integrated planning so that we ensure that whatever we commit at the international level and at the national level goes down and trickle down to the local leadership. But in order for that to happen, the local leadership should also be involved in the decision on the national and the international level. That's why we need to create that platform, no, to ensure that the voices of the local voices are actually represented at the international level, and at the same time, they will be able for us to monitor and implement it properly. So my first point is ensuring an integrated and common planning. Second, in order for us to accelerate the achievement of sustainable development goals, the only way is creating and embracing digital transformation. When I talk about digital transformation, we need to ensure that we provide solutions through digital solution and ensuring that we improve service delivery to the people through digital transformation. And we cannot create development if we are disconnected. And in some developed countries, this might be a reality. But in most countries, internet connectivity is a bigger challenge. And in order for us to narrow the digital divide, we need to ensure that we connect everyone to the same information that other developed countries can actually access. And digital transformation doesn't only mean digital connectivity, but at the same time ensuring that we provide the digital skills needed for an ordinary people and every individual to access information and access different digital devices the way other people and the rest of us are benefiting from it. My third point is innovation. When we talk about innovation, we need to look at it from two approach, product and process. We need to create new products that actually advance and improve the quality of life. But at the same time, we need to ensure that we look at our existing process on how we can actually improve and make it more efficient. Unfortunately, the business as usual is no longer what is happening. And we need to change this mindset that what works now will still work the next generation to come. The challenge now is for us to rethink our process. And sometimes there are new solutions that are made available. And we talk about food security. I think maybe it's about time to explore about diversifying our source of food to small-scale farming, to household farming, and even the introduction of artificial intelligence in farming that we call precision agriculture. So there are a lot of solutions there that is made available, but at the same time we need to combine all our efforts to make sure that we provide the same solution and we work together in advancing the sustainable development goals. And that I stop my presentation, and thank you very much. I look forward to the engagement.
Thank you for joining us. I know it's quite a sacrifice for you because it's 5 a.m. in Micronesia, so once again, thank you for sharing your ideas on how to implement national commitments at a local level. Bridging this gap is extremely important for the achievement of the SDGs. This integrated approach is necessary to create a more localized solution to more localized problems such as food insecurity. Once again, thank you for your hard work in ensuring the benefits of the SDGs are felt by those who really need them through an integrated approach and use of digital technology. We're now going to move on to our final panelist, Mr.